Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 310. My name is Brando. Welcome, Mr. Freese. Or am I
Hi
lame?
there.
Am I lame for starting it out like that? Did you get that a lot as a kid, Josh Freese, the Batman villain, Mr. Freeze?
No, you know what? I was, I never minded it. I guess it'd be worse if I was the penguin, right? Or something. Hey, it's the penguin, you know? But Mr. Freeze, yeah, I think sounds kind of cool. I'm all
It
right
is.
with it.
I thought so, but just I don't know. Sometimes I introduce my guest as Mr. or Miss or whatever, and I'm like Mr. Freeze, and of course your brain starts to goes to Batman.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Anyway, I don't want to waste because you're a very busy guy. I mean, you may know that you have 400 albums more than to your name, so we can only talk about a certain amount.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about the 5 good ones I've played on.
No way. You have. I'll just say right
okay, 10 good ones.
We're not going to even get into it, but I guess I want to say before I go off on tangents and a new album and everything. Avril Lavigne, I'm telling you, Let Go was a great album to me growing up.
I've got this album that I made that's coming out on October 29th. There's 2 volumes, right? We got Just a Minute Volume 1 and Just a Minute Volume 2, which Volume 2 will probably come out maybe in January or something. But there's a song on Volume 2, and the title is "I Didn't Know I Recorded with Avril," is the name of the song. And it's a true story. It's the fact that, she was a new artist with a weird name, and I do tons of sessions, and it was me and a producer, no other musicians in the room, no artist in the room, just the tracks were basically done on a Pro Tools rig. We knocked out 4 or 5 songs in one night. I wrote down the information to whatever label she was on, Arista or, A&M, whatever the hell it was. Got a contact name for who I was going to invoice the next day. And then that was done. And then months and months went by, and I did dozens and dozens of more recording sessions. And about a year later, after her record had been out for a while, someone goes, "Hey, I saw your name on that Avril Lavigne record." I was like, "No, I didn't play on that record." And they go, "It says you did." I'm like, "Huh? I don't remember recording with her." At this point, she was kind of a big star. But when I worked with her, it was just me and my producer friend, Cliff Magnus, who was doing these tracks. She was just another nameless, faceless new artist that I never had met and never heard of. And her name kind of went in one ear and out the other, right? So it's like, and there's a lot of those kind of sessions that I'll work on that never see the light of day. So I did it, and I kind of just forgot about it, And then, her record started blowing up, and people started telling me they were seeing my name on the record. I said, "No, I don't think so." And then I went and looked at the credits, and I went, "What?" And I saw it said like tracks. The only thing that made sense to me is when I noticed, I'll look around for other names I recognize, and it said like tracks 4, 6, 10, and 12 produced by Cliff Magnus. Thanks. My wife brought me a coffee. Isn't that sweet?
His bitch brought him coffee.
My bitch brought me coffee. She said that. I'm repeating. I'm paraphrasing.
But he sounds really cool when he says it that way, right?
There she is. Want to see the poodles? There's Judy.
Oh, Judy the poodle.
It's Judy and Wanda. We're out in the desert right now. We're we're away from our kids for a couple of days, having a quick little adults only anniversary trip.
Oh, congratulations.
She said that's why our house looks like a wreck. Wait, no, we don't have kids here, so we have no excuse.
No excuse.
But if anybody wants to buy a house out here.
Oh, yeah, but if anyone wants to buy a house, contact Nicole.
Okay.
My wife does real estate.
Oh, you got it.
I love anyways, so yeah, I saw, I'm making up the tracks. I forget what the track numbers are, but once again, it said tracks 4, 7, 12, and 15 produced by Cliff Magnus. And I went, that's that session I did with Cliff 2 years ago, that Thursday or a year ago, that rainy Thursday night at that studio in Burbank. It was just me and him, and it just kind of like, anyways, things like that happen all the time where I just kind of like knock something out. I was on a plane once with Melissa Etheridge, and we landed at the airport, and her drummer had recognized me, the guy that was touring with her. But she came up to me like a baggage claim, and she introduced herself. She said, "Hey, Josh." She goes, "I'm Melissa Etheridge." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course, And she goes, "I want to thank you for playing on my, couple songs on that last album." And I went, "Yeah, no problem." And I'm thinking, what the hell is she talking about? And then afterwards I went, oh, that's right. My friend Rick Parasher, rest in peace, producer who's no longer around. We were doing something else. And at the end of the day at his studio up in Seattle, he goes, hey, can you play these 2 tracks real quick? It's from Melissa Etheridge and I can get you paid on them. And, there's something that's lacking on them. And I want to recut the drums. So we did it and we knocked it out in, right after dinner in a couple hours and it was done. And so I kind of forgot because it kind of was such a quick little blip, that I was like, man, I know I've worked with a lot of people. If I can forget that I can forget myself forgetting, someone that I've never worked with before that I've never heard of. Unless
to remember. Yeah, I didn't expect you to remember all 400 or whatever the number is now. I mean, I'm sure you look back at your own Wikipedia page and be like, oh yeah. And the fact that you have so many stories right away, well, we got to get to your story. So you answered a couple of them, honestly, which was great. I just listened to your album, your whole album, all 20 tracks.
Yeah, you can do it like that.
20 minutes. It just takes 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, just a minute, duh. So they're all minutes, give or take a few seconds. And and I'm being honest with you, Josh, which I am all the time, I'm like, okay, 1 minute songs. How am I gonna what is this gonna be like? And you know what? That was a fun 20 minutes. That really was. It was just, it took me on an adventure. It was fun. Oh, I gotta ask, does she need help right now?
She's asking me something real quick. Hold on. What's that, Nicole?
No problem. I'm reading Josh's eyes.
I was looking for it myself, couldn't find it. I know. I couldn't find it. It might be in the car. Look in the car. Sorry, I was looking for my other AirPod earlier and I wasn't able to find it. Anyways,
good. I'm like a drummer. I'm watching your eyes and reading the room, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Anyways, it's supposed to kind of feel like that. And I'm glad that it's kind of all over the place, as you can tell. There's like rock and roll songs, there's weird kind of quiet instrumental songs, there's songs that aren't even songs, they're just like weird little art pieces, and I had a lot of fun doing them. I think that what makes it cool to me is that it was all done from a completely kind of pure, real place, in the respect that I kind of just started recording these songs for fun at the beginning of lockdown when everyone was kind of freaking out a bit and not knowing what to do with themselves. And I was just enjoying doing it. And I really had no intention of putting them out. I just wanted the reason why they're 1 minute to begin with is like, okay, I'm gonna do these short songs. It's not going to be a daunting task to go in and go, God, I got to write a song with intros and bridges and choruses and all this stuff. It's like really very little to commit to. And I was like, I'm going to have fun and I'm going to make some funny little videos on my phone and just put them on Instagram. And that's all I wanted to do, really. But then my friend Stone Gossard, who's kind of doing a reboot to his record label, Loose Groove, called me and Stone said, hey, I'd love to put this stuff out. We should make a record. I was like, well, I wasn't really planning on it, but hell, if you want to, sure, why not? Let's just do it for the love of it, So originally it was gonna be one record with 41 songs on it, and then we switched it into 20 on the first volume and 21 on the second volume, and really just to continue the fun aspect of it, and the passion project part of it is just being able to do different artwork for them both, and having fun stuff, because it was really cool working on the artwork for the vinyl, and anyways, we wanted to kind of do it in 2 pieces just for the fun aspect of it, really.
And it is fun. And if you're watching on Zoom, so who is on the album? What is this? A toothless woman with rainbows coming out of her eyebrows?
Well, you know what that is? That's actually a photograph I took of a doll head that I have at home. It's a thing from the late 70s, early 80s. There was this novelty toy that you could buy, and it was called Laughin' Head Family. And then there was these different things you could get. The one that's on my album covers, there's Laughin' Head Granny, and there's the Laughin' Head Yodeler, there's the Laughin' Head Chef, and there's all these weird things. But I remember when I was a little kid, this scary looking mask, right? You could hang it on the wall. It's 3-dimensional. And you put batteries in it, and you pull this little, like, either handkerchief or thing hanging down from the chin, and the eyes would close up and down, go up and down.
Creepy.
Tongue would go in and out. it spits water and it laughs like this maniacal, really creepy, goes, what's that?
We got that one at the antique spot.
Did we, or we got online, I thought? I think I bought both of them on eBay. So anyways, when I was a kid, it freaked me out. I forgot all about it. And then I remember coming up in conversation once with the Devo guys, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And they go, remember the laughing head granny? I was like, oh my God, I do remember my family having one of those when I was 6 or 7. And it was supposed to be fun, but it was really kind of scary. So I found one on eBay and I bought a second one, but that's the first one and the best one that I've got. It used to hang in my studio, it still does, but it used to hang in the doorway to my studio. And the last tier that I could go to with my kids, if they weren't listening and they were disobeying, I'd say, hey, if you don't, if you don't stop bothering your brother, I'm gonna, there's gonna be no TV. Okay, then that wouldn't work. Okay, if you don't stop bothering your brother, you're gonna be grounded for the weekend. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, if you don't stop bothering your brother, I'm gonna put you in the studio right now with laughing head granny and shut the door for 3 minutes. They'd be like,
Nice.
no, panic would set in, tears. I'm like, okay. Now I don't want to put you in the studio with laughing head granny either, but just, better, pull it together. I took a photo of that, and then just on a app on my iPad, I drew the colored eyebrows shooting out from her face. And I sent that to Loose Groove in the background in the bottom left is a photo of my favorite hotel, the Phoenix Hotel in San Francisco. Took a picture of that and sent it to them. And then Regan at Loose Groove kind of mocked up with the yellow and the pink and just put it together. And he sent it to me. He said, what do you think? And the first mock-up, I said, that looks great. Let's move on. It was like, well, what if it was blue and pink? Or what if it was yellow and green? I just said, screw it. That looks great. Let's commit. Let's move on. So I loved it. I thought it was great. And same with the back. And you probably don't have a picture of the back image, but the back is a crazy collage of a bunch of different photographs and weird stuff I've done over the years.
All right. Well, I'm going to force people to, if they're just watching this, to go on, pre-order it and then look at the album and look at it that way. I can't give them everything. But what I do have, which is a nice segue into one of your tracks in the album, is Vince Neil fighting Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Please tell me why you decided to.
Well, do you know the story behind this?
Only like from TMZ. I don't know like the real story.
Well, I don't know the exact real story either, but all I do know is that they're like basically day drinking, at I think it was I forget how to pronounce it correctly, but the Arias Hotel in Vegas, which is a nice hotel. And I mentioned that because the only thing that I changed in the narrative is I made it all happen at Circus, which is really not a nice hotel. I thought it would be funnier if they were hanging out at Circus drinking together. But supposedly, as the story goes, they're at that Arias Hotel, and they're in there and they're drunk, and some fan won't leave Vince Neil alone, trying to get a picture with them. And he's like going, get out of here. And he's not taking the photo. And she gets kind of aggressive. And then he like gets into it with her and like pulls her by the hair, pulls her down or pushes her down or something. And what you're seeing when you go on TMZ and seeing the two of them, it says Nicolas Cage and Vince Neil brawl. But what it is them both drunk, and Nicolas Cage is trying to get Vince to kind of get a hold of himself before they both go to jail. And he's got him like in a headlock and he's going, come on, man. You got to stop it. Come on, Vince. Come on, man. Get it together. Stop. We got to get out of here. So he's kind of like, he's looking out for his bro, right? But it's really just these two like pathetic, weird, like celebrities, in a dire situation at 3 p.m. in Las Vegas.
That's what's one of the fun things about your album, because you listen to it, and if you're a fan of punk rock, Devo, and I mean it's Josh Freese, it's fun, but the subject matter, there are ones about quarantine and lockdown, but then you have this, and you recorded a saying that you almost had 2 songs about Vince Neil, but you didn't want to do that.
Right. Well, there's another song that ended up being called Heavy Metal Car Collection that I like a lot. And the original title, I was working on it for the Vandals. Like there's probably out of these 20 songs, there's probably 3 songs on this record, 4 songs that were started off as demos maybe a year or 2 ago. Most of the stuff I wrote from the ground up starting last year. But some of the stuff was like, okay, here's a song I wrote for the Vandals that we never did, that we're probably never going to do. So screw it. I'm going to write different lyrics and I'm just going to record it myself and have it laying around. If I ever want to use it, great. So what the heavy metal card collection was originally called Vince Neil's card collection was the name of it. And I never really finished the lyrics, but I had the music done. And it was kind of like a 2.5, 3 minute long song. But when I was putting songs together for this record, I was like, oh, I kind of like that song. Maybe I can rework it, edit it down to 60 seconds and, change some of the words around. So that's what that is. But yeah, then the joke was, maybe I'll make a whole Vince Neil concept album from top to bottom, double album, man.
Do it, please. Please do it. That would be so fun for a variety of reasons. So you mentioned obviously one of the bands you're famous for, the Vandals. I mean, that's another band I've listened to since I was young, and I kicked off. I thought I was just gonna mention Avril Lavigne. I didn't expect a story, and thank you for that. So many artists that you've worked with. One in particular, and I'm sure you may have recognized the name of the podcast, if I can ask about, is Guns N' Roses. You obviously were there at a very integral part of that. And there's, while you have this new album coming out, there would always be jokes about Guns N' Roses not making music. Gesundheit, bless you.
You said bless you, Nicole.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. See,
Hallelujah.
we're a team here. We're a team. Bless you again.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my cat that she's smelling or something like that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But this year they released newish songs, and you're somebody who can possibly answer because you were in a specific gap of that band that is highly questioned. So are you familiar with Hard School? The song is now officially released. We're not talking about leaks anymore, which you may have been asked about in previous interviews. So we have actual GNR material. Have you listened to Hard School when it was rumored? It could have been Checkmate, could have been Jackie Chan. You were at a very integral part after Matt Sorum left. So do you know of that?
The only reason I know about the track Hard School at all is my publishing company emailed me about maybe a week and a half ago and said, hey, do you know anything about the song Hard School? Did you have anything to do with the writing of it? Because it's coming out or it just came out. We want to know what the splits are. Because I guess it was done when I was in the studio with them, but we recorded so much material. And after I left, they worked on so much stuff post me being there. And it was 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now that I was there, that there's a few things that I really had a big hand in on the writing. For instance, the title track, Chinese Democracy, I wrote the music to it. There was a few other songs that had working titles that never ended up on the Chinese Democracy record, but were laying around. I know at least when we recorded them 20 years ago, Axl liked them a lot. And once again, when I was there, they didn't have any lyrics yet, so they just had these working titles. And so when Hard School came out and I listened to it, I went, God, maybe that is one of the songs that I wrote that they since, later put lyrics to. Like when I was there in the studio with them, the song Chinese Democracy wasn't called Chinese Democracy yet. I think the working title was Smells Like Josh Spirit, because I wrote it and the chords are really simple. It's just like these 3 chords over and over and over. And someone at one point goes, this sounds like kind of a cool like Nirvana riff or something. So it was titled Smells Like Josh Spirit, like up on the board where we had all the songs we were working on. Axl hadn't written lyrics to it yet. And that didn't happen until after I left. So once again, when I went, okay, Hard School, let me listen to that, because maybe that's what this song turned into, what that song turned into. I listened to it. I didn't recognize hardly any of it, That being said, maybe I did write some of it. Maybe because once again, it was 22 years ago, but there was 2 or 3 things that I brought in where I really wrote the majority of the music. And I would definitely recognize instantly. As a matter of fact, before the track started playing, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be this one, or this one, because there was a few that were pretty cool that didn't end up getting used. But that wasn't one of them. But did they release more stuff or just that one track?
Absurd.
Last week.
It was maybe a month or so ago. They also released Absurd, which was which was Silkworms.
Oh, so, yeah. I didn't have anything to do with that one.
Okay, because I think that was like a Pitman.
1 second, sorry.
The wife has priority. That's fine with me. See, people ask like, why, some things I don't edit out and Zoom.
No. Can you do it in the other room?
The interaction with Josh, his wife, I don't take priority.
Oh, okay.
Guns N' Roses.
You know, tell me this. Are you able to, if I take these headphones out, because it'll be quiet, my wife's leaving right now. Am I able to talk to you without headphones? It'll be okay if it's quiet in the room?
Yeah, I mean, are you able to hear me? I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as long as you can hear me.
Let's do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, because she needs them.
Okay, no more interruptions.
Oh, all good. I was even talking.
Oh, now you went away.
I went away. I see you.
It's all the way up.
And even if I was
sorry, man.
All good.
It's weird. Before we started, I could hear you fine.
And do you not hear me well now?
There you are. Okay, I just had to click a button.
Oh,
all good.
Josh is in. If you're listening, you know, I won't edit this out. I think this is real. This is these are tapes.
Yeah, leave it all in, man.
This is
sports and all.
Just session. I I think that's rock and roll. And that kind of something you said earlier, just about your album cover, about just get it out. You know, I don't want to mess with it. And sometimes people just think about that and the opposite with Chinese democracy and just constantly.
Well, exactly. I've seen what it's like to double and triple guess yourself to death and spin your wheels and take too long on stuff. And then you start freaking out. You can really start getting in your own head about things. And I think there's a lot to be said for going with your gut and your initial instinct towards what you like or don't like. And I remember being in the studio years ago with the great record producer, Brendan O'Brien. And I believe it was an Offspring record we were working on in the early 2000s. And I'd cut some drums that afternoon and I was leaving the studio and they were going to do some guitars that evening. And there was some guitar amps set up in the live room. And there was a bunch of different microphones on each amp, right? Let's say 2 or 3 different microphones in each amp. So as I'm getting my laptop together, or finding my keys in the control room and saying bye to everybody, I can hear Brennan and the second engineer at the studio kind of like, he goes, okay, bring up channel 12, bring up the first microphone, the 414 on the Marshall cabinet. He brings it up, plays guitar, he goes, God, sounds great to me. Let's just start tracking. They didn't even bother hearing the second or third microphone because it's like, okay, the second microphone might have sounded really great. The third microphone might have sounded really great, maybe not as good. But the first microphone sounded awesome. And Brennan's like, what else? I don't need anything else. So maybe we could make it 1% better. It sounds fucking great. Let's move on, you know? And there's something to be said for being able to do that and being able to commit and press forward, you know, and not get caught up in the technicality end of things. And all of a sudden it's going to start stifling whatever creative flow that you've got going at the time, you know? And I've watched that not just with the Guns N' Roses situation, but with a lot of bands where I'll be in the studio where you start to double and triple guess yourself, and then you start doubting yourself, and then it becomes this weird cycle, you know? Also at the same time, you've got to put in the work and you don't want to just like crap it out and say, screw it, let's move on. But for me, it's like when I saw the album cover, I'm like, okay, I like that album cover. You know, and I can sit here and go back and forth with them on different shades of yellow. And what if it makes the title Just a Minute pop a little? It's like, it looks great. It's fine. I think it looks cool. Let's move on to the next thing, you know? And that's something I just kind of learned over time and is really helpful, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. And I guess that kind of parlays into, and if you have to, and I know I by the way, I have no problem with your interruptions. Your wife has precedent over me, but if I know you have another interview, but I want to keep you here forever. So if you have to give me, you know, like a 1-2 minute warning or something like that, by the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So just with that then, and I don't like calling you a journeyman drummer because you have just been so iconic in every band that you've been in. So when it came to Guns N' Roses, was there ever a point where like, I want to ride this for a while? Then with the recording of Chinese Democracy and seeing how long that was taking, is that why you decided to leave and just, you know what, get down?
I mean, I will say this. I will say that, you know, Axl Rose being as intriguing and controversial as he's been in the past, as a entity and a rock star, everyone always wants to, man, tell me some crazy Axl Rose stories. And I've said it a trillion times before, but it's just the truth. The time I spent with him, he was generous, he was cool, he was likable. I've never had any problem, and I don't have any funny story to tell you other than I got along great with him. And I was kind of sad to leave, because most people take it personally if you quit their band or if you leave the situation. And I don't know how personally he took it or not, but I was hoping that he wouldn't, because I liked the guy. And I've only seen him once since then. I ran into him during Coachella about 5 years ago, maybe. And he was super cool. He was great. And we had a laugh, and it was really nice to see him. But for me, the 2 years I spent in the studio with them, I had a 2-year contract. And when it was up, I was able to kind of like re-examine it and renew it or not. And I just didn't see them leaving that studio anytime soon. And I was kind of going, man, am I going to sit here for another 2 years in this control room in the studio while they like fidget with stuff? I don't know if I want to spend another 2 years of my life doing this, At the same time, on the weekends, I'd been kind of messing around with Billy Howardell and Maynard James Keenan and starting a Perfect Circle. And that was like a tangible, real thing. Like, hey, we're going to make a record and we're going to get a deal, and we're going to leave on tour in a couple months or next month or whatever it was. Like, we're going to book shows. Let's go. And I was like, okay, this is like a regular thing. This isn't being isolated up, in some ivory tower somewhere away from the rest of the world in a weird bubble, which I felt like kind of Guns N' Roses was. I mean, that being said, too, there's a lot of pressure on Axl, and he was kind of doing it without his regular band for the first time ever. So I think that was unnerving probably for him, and a little bit scary, But anyways, it was something that I enjoyed the time I spent down there, but I didn't want to sit around anymore. And that's kind of what it was looking like was going to happen. And they did kind of not sit around, but they spent a lot more time on the record still after I left. And I was glad that I made that record with The Perfect Circle and went out on tour, and we started that. That was a little bit more of a real band to me, and something that I was really a part of from the ground up, rather than being the third or fourth drummer in line in a project. You know what I mean?
I do. I do. And the stories I get, because we spoke a bit off air, I'm just not that guy to ask about what's Axl Rose really like. What did he do? Every person I've had on here, including former managers, love the guy. It's always this media, I like to think, me excluded, has this perception of him that doesn't seem to be accurate. So it's those years where he was in public that you worked with him, and people think that he wasn't doing anything. I mean, there's so many reasons why it was delayed that you don't even know all of them, and you were there. So
Right.
I think it's more about people are hungry for that time, because when we get a song like Chinese Democracy or Smells Like Josh, or what was it? The
Josh Spirit.
Smells Like Josh Spirit, because the music is fantastic. So when we get Hard School and we get Absurd, it's the diehards like me, the nerds like me who have heard leaks. It's like, finally the rest of the world gets to enjoy this amazing music. So I think that's some of the frustration among fans, is just that we want to hear it. It's you're making music. I think that's all. I mean, there's a lot of other variables. And some fans do get a little overzealous, i.e. the fan that really wanted a picture with Vince Neil. Some fans need to calm down a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Is there anything, like maybe the working titles of the songs, that you would recognize if you did hear them on the radio?
You know what? I don't know why there would be a problem, but I probably shouldn't say them. I don't know legally if there's any problem
Fair
with
enough.
that.
Fair enough.
So I always, Axl was a pretty secretive guy about things like that. And so on one hand, it's like, who cares? I'm not like giving out some WikiLeaks thing that's going to affect the government or our day-to-day lives. It's like, I could be giving it way too much credence, but yeah, I guess I'd rather not.
I respect that. No worries.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I totally get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask this as we kind of circle back, almost a pun, a perfect circle back, I guess.
Yeah.
This is why I got paid nothing.
Ah,
I want, there's so many questions for you, and that the GNR stuff gets a credit to all my listeners. So thank you for helping me. All the questions and people excited to hear from you. But this is a nice segue back to everything. This is from Mike Laser Machine on Twitter. As you are regarded as one of the top drummers in the world, what do you think makes you unique? A highly sought after musician. Do you have top moments? I guess there's a couple questions in there. Do you have top moments, which I guess you can get to, but what do you think makes you unique? Why are you on all these albums, some of which you don't even remember? And it's all across all genres. It's not even like you're just good at one thing.
I think that, I think it's a combination of things, and maybe some of it I won't be able to really put my finger on, but I think I can sometimes bridge an interesting area as far as I grew up first playing along to rock and roll records and kind of self-taught. Then I really did study and I took lessons and I really got into kind of the intricate aspect and the complicated aspect of drumming and technique and reading music. And I went through my jazz fusion phase, and then I came back around to rock and roll, but now I was more into punk rock, as a mid to late teen, and also started paying less attention to really good drummers necessarily, and just more attention to, I shouldn't say really good drummers. I mean, like prog drummers, or fancy show off drumming. I got less into that and more into songwriting. I became a songwriter, and I became more interested in just the process of writing and producing music, and the less is more aspect of what makes great drummers that play simple really great. I always say, something can be really simple, but that doesn't make it easy, and the other thing I can kind of compare it to is, like, I've gone, why do I sometimes like really simple stuff done really well? It's like, well, would you rather go to a restaurant and have some dish that's got 35 ingredients in it, or do you just want the world's greatest cheeseburger? You know what I mean? I kind of would rather have the world's greatest cheeseburger than some convoluted dish. You don't know what and as far as music and drummers, that's kind of how I feel now. It's like, I like hearing the really simple stuff, but done really well. That's something I can relate to. And I, once again, though, going back to the fact that I don't know a lot of drummers that might be versed at all in jazz that appreciate punk rock music, and vice versa. I don't know a lot of punk rock drummers that would care about fusion music or jazz or stuff like that. So to kind of be able to, not that I'm involved in the jazz fusion world at all, I'm really not, but just as far as being able to be, I think, a sensitive drummer and play more singer-songwriting stuff, but then also be able to play really aggressive and know when to turn each mode on, and to kind of feel out other musicians and adapt to my surroundings quickly. I'm a quick study, but I also really do my homework. Like, I'll be listening to stuff, my kids will go, why are you listening to this song still? Don't you know this song? Like, it's something I'm maybe going to go out and play live with somebody, right? I'll tell them, I'm saying, listen, we're not rehearsing, or we're doing very little rehearsal. And I could show up and stumble around a little bit, but I would rather show up and know everything no matter what. And then the people that have hired me go, man, this is great. I never have to worry about Freese showing up and, well, I knew that one song, but these two songs, I didn't really listen to it enough time. No one wants to hear that. They just want to show up and go, God, this guy learned everything. And I don't have a worry in the world now about how the show's going to go. I like being able to give that to people, that hire me and that I work with. Just that security factor and dependability thing to what I bring as a musician, as a drummer, and why they're hiring me, And I think that's one reason why I work as much as I do, being dependable, getting along with others, delivering, You can't just, some people go, I've even at its worst, I've heard people, haters go, oh yeah, Josh is, he's got great stories and, he's cool to be around. So that's why it works. It's like, well, you can't suck. You can't have good stories and suck. That's not going to work for Sting, and that's not going to work for Trent Reznor, and that's not going to work for Axl Rose. Or go to the, what I mean? It's like, I'm worried, I find myself having to defend myself because I'll hear that sometimes, it's like, no, I think you got to have both. You got to be a good hang and you've got to know your shit.
No, that just means you would be a good podcast host. I mean, why would people hire that might be one of the worst takes from a troll I've ever heard, and that's saying something, But
whatever.
what it also makes you a good parent. Honestly, I think that's a great example showing your kids.
Oh yeah, all the time. I'll tell them, and I use that word homework all the time. I'll be in the car and they'll go, or I'll explain to them. I'll say, you know what? Hear the stuff I'm listening to. They'll go, yeah. I go, I'm not playing this for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But instead of listening to it over and over and over the night before, which sometimes I do, I go, I'm gonna listen to a little bit each day. And that test that you're studying for, instead of just cramming for it, in a panic the night before, just do it a little bit each day, and then you've got nothing to worry about when game day arrives, or when the test, happens. You're going to be cool. And so it's like, I'm all about preparation.
That's I think that's awesome. So
Yeah.
let me ask, and
I do have to go in a minute because my thing's at 11:45.
That's cool. My girl just walked in, and we're gonna go look at a wedding venue. So
oh, nice. Okay.
Just like you, women have priority. So I'll just ask one quick question then regarding your kids. Is baby's first beard about them?
It's not. It's about my beard that I grew last year during lockdown. I've never had a beard before.
Oh no, you're not like me. Okay.
Actually, I made with a friend of mine a great video that I'm going to put out in about a week. That's one of my favorite tracks on the record because it's a cross between Black Flag and the Butthole Surfers, and it's just like fucked up and weird and gnarly and scary sounding and ugly. I love that track.
Like I said, it's a real fun 20 minutes. And you mentioned earlier there's going to be a volume 2. Honestly, I hope it keeps going like Encyclopedia Britannica.
Dude, volume 2, I can't wait. There's a song I can't wait to make a video for, and the song's called "Somehow I Like Lou Reed" is the name of the song. And "Somehow I Like Lou Reed" it's an awesome song. I'm proud of it, and I just can't wait to make the video. The video's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, Just a Minute Volume 1 is coming out. It's October 29th?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on Loose Groove Records. So any idea when Volume 2? Maybe we'll focus on Volume 1. We'll hopefully have
I'm hoping in January, maybe,
Okay. Well, I hope to speak with you again, and I can't wait to hear Volume 2 regardless.
Awesome.
Josh, you were so much fun. I hope you have your fashion sense. We'll talk about your Lana Del Rey pajamas that you're wearing right now another time. And you just have yourself a great day.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
We could have kept going. You know that. But he's a busy dude. He has an album to promote. I'm glad I got it, Josh, for that long. We're friendly now. I'm not going to call him Mr. Freese. I don't know why I started off the interview with Mr. Freese and Avril Lavigne. Some of you were like, he's asking about Avril. Ask him about art school. Well, we did. And he doesn't really remember it. Doesn't seem like it. And I totally respect the decision not to talk about the rumored names. Because then you fall in love with a rumored name. Like the Blues is Street of Dreams. But wow, Chinese democracy. That's a story. So I hope we get Josh on again. Really, really cool. And thank you to all of you. So many. I couldn't get to all the names because so many of you asked ask about hard school, that time period. I'd be shouting out 30 of you at some point. But if you go on Twitter and Facebook, you shut yourselves out by commenting on, and that's how the conversation continues. I tell you, follow on Facebook, follow on the new podcast at the AFD podcast. And that's how I know what questions you want me to ask my guest. I mean, I knew I was going to ask him Gene a lot of questions, but you know what I mean. So what is to come on the AFD show? I really don't know. Right now, I'm focused on looking at this wedding venue. We'll see if it works out. Right now, I'll keep you updated because it's called, I think, the Velvet Lounge. So maybe we'll get a Velvet Revolver cover band to play our wedding. Probably not. They probably would have to learn. Is there a Velvet Revolver cover band? And if so, would they learn Dave Matthews for her? These are questions that nobody wants to answer. Anyway, so that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Again, follow on social media. That's how you keep up to date with everything. That's how you can participate in future episodes. And follow on YouTube. Please follow and subscribe. That's how. And it took some I don't know, little tweaking to get Josh to turn on the video. He's like, it's boring. Nobody wants to see me. I'm like, everyone wants to see you. You convinced me. So you get to see Josh in his Lana Del Rey t-shirt if you follow and subscribe to Appetite for Distortion on YouTube. So that does it officially. For when are you going to see the next episode? The words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, or smells like Josh's spirit. I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it